What's up, people? This is Stealth Ranger 77 here, and this video is going to be about my thoughts and feelings on the Destiny beta and what I feel will come in the second section of the beta when that's released to both the Xbox and the PlayStation 4 and 3 platform. As for how I felt so far, why don't we start off with the campaign, and when you check in the destinations, what was available to us in the alpha that was different. We had the Divide, we had Old Russia, and we had the Dark Within. These two missions we did not have. We also had the Devil's Lair as our first and only strike available in the alpha, meaning that these two missions were the only two missions that we did not see in the alpha. So that was it. And what they showed us is they showed us the moon map, what it would look like, and what the first mission would look like. But when you completed all of the campaign before, and then you come over to the moon map, it says the Destiny launch coming soon, pointing towards the actual release date of the game. And so how I felt about the campaign is they said that they would be changing up the lines of Peter Dinklage, the voice actor for the Ghost. They said they'd be doing some voice acting changes, but in my opinion I didn't see much difference between the missions that we had played in these three. I didn't see much of a difference, and this one as well. I didn't see any new content really except for these two that we hadn't heard yet. So I think that was a bit of a bluff, there's only so much you can do and you don't want to change it up so that it's completely different. So I understand where they're coming from there. As for the content that we were given, I think this wasn't nearly enough, and these two missions, I don't think that's nearly enough for the beta, so that will lead towards a point that I have later in the video. Now we talk about the Crucible. As you can see, the Iron Banner is up right now. That's what you can play as of right now. That was a new game type of sorts that is based on your actual defense. So if I were to go into my character, that defense, when you play regular multiplayer, when you play regular Control in the Crucible, when you just play Control, the only game type that was available until now, your defense was pretty much averaged out for the multiplayer games to keep it fair and square. As for Iron Banner, your defense actually calculated out. And as for these four, we don't know anything about them. We don't know anything about them. This was the only added thing, and it was Control. Iron Banner, the only game type playable in Iron Banner is Control, this game type. So there was nothing added except for Rusted Lands, which was one of the maps that was available in the alpha, but normally you can't play here, and the map on Mars, which is a new map that we have yet to see. So that's what was available there. As for my feelings in the multiplayer aspect, I felt that the controls and the movement and the actions of the jetpack were quite a bit smoother comparable to the alpha. You could tell that they did a lot of work. Equal to the graphics, you could see that there was definitely a graphical increase. If you were to look into a background of an area, you would see it was a bit more pixelated in the alpha and just looked kind of dusty, if you know what I mean. It was just a bit brighter, and they did that because they didn't have quite the resolution that they were looking for, I think. And they definitely did a lot of management there in between the alpha and the beta. So that was a huge fix that I was really glad that happened. And then the feeling of the movement and controls, it felt super smooth. But my major complaint for the multiplayer is the vehicles, mainly on the lunar map on the moon. It's some of the the big ship that you can just fly around and shoot rockets. Those, if you're on the ground or in a just on your Sparrow or anything, you're dead. No matter what, you're dead on that thing. It doesn't matter where you are. That thing will just, even if it shoots a rocket and it misses you by 15 feet, you are still dead. There's nothing you can do. So if you're hit by one of those, there's nothing you can do. And then the big turrets that I believe there are 3 on the map, 1 by each flag. Those things I think were to counteract those giant rocket machines, which I think the entire point of those vehicles was to help the vehicle side of the Halo fans, because Bungie made Halo. So I think that was to compensate for the lack of vehicles. But they're so overpowered, so I think during this maintenance there should be a little bit of a decrease in damage that those two do, because as for the pike, it moves really smoothly, it moves perfectly, but it's actually pretty hard to kill somebody on it unless they're standing still. So I think that the pike is pretty balanced. I don't have any problem with that. They already did some management from alpha to beta for that, so I don't have any issue with the pike. It's just with those two vehicles, and because I think they both are there to counteract each other, I think they should both just be brought down a tad bit, because if you're on the ground, you have no chance to make it out. And I think that's unfair, because they're both placed in control. All three of the turrets are placed by flags, and each of the rocket shooters by each team, they can be driven very quickly and very fastly to any location that you want to go. So there's some serious decrease in damage and speed and range that they need to take out on those things. But that's really my only complaint. I really love the feel, I love the flow, the spawning. You could tell that they've done, the spawn points are pretty well done, where it's really hard to spawn trap in this game because they keep moving you around, so it makes it for a very playable game. Even if you're down, you can still make a good comeback if you have a decent team, which I really like that aspect of the game. And then in this game, with the enemy spawns, I'd say when you're in the Explorer, my probably major complaint about the campaign is when you're in the Explorer, enemies pretty much spawn in 2 spots. So you're just going back and forth between those spots, 2 spots, and if I want to XP grind, I want to go to kind of different areas, you know? I don't want to just be stuck in 2 same spots, because that gets really, really repetitive, just going back and forth and back and forth. So I wish they could mix it up and move them around a little bit, you know, have them on different heights in the map, and just in different spots, adding to different stuffs, making it a little bit more fun and a little bit more diverse in the places that you go. As for the missions, I think those were pretty fun. So there you have it for the multiplayer and the campaign. I really love it. And the tower, I think the layout is spectacular. I wish there'd be a bit more items to choose from. I feel there's not nearly enough uncommon material, and I have yet to see any rare items in any of the places that you try to buy from or trade from in the tower. So I wish there was a bit more diversity in the items that you could get, just because that makes it more fun. That adds to the aspect of the game and the selling and the craftsmanship of the aspect of the tower. And I love it as it is, but if they could just add that little bit more to it, that would make it so much better and make me feel truly immersed in the game. Now, at the end of this video, what I had planned to talk about was that I don't think they're done adding stuff into the game. True, they still have Iron Banner and stuff coming up every once in a while, but I think there's going to be more campaign showed. I don't think they're tricking us here. I don't think we're going to have to wait until that release date. And why I think that is that there's so many things, in my opinion, that point to it. If you look at our character, level 8, that's the max level that you can get to right now. See, it says my progress to level 9 is 0, and I've played way over. Like, I've seen, you know, how the sparkly stuff still comes up even if you're past level 8. I'm probably around level 14 or level 15 by now. So, I don't think they would not raise the level cap from alpha to beta. That's too ridiculous, because not to mention we didn't get our stuff carried over, but yet we still aren't able to see any advancement in weapon damage, really, and any gear. So, like, I have quite a bit of stuff that I can't even use yet. If you look in some of my items, I can't even use them yet. Like, I can't use a sniper rifle, I can't use the helmet over there, I can't use this heavy weapon. So I think they're going to raise the level cap, because I don't think they would stop that from happening. Not to mention, in the Crucible, they said you would be able to view 5 maps in the beta. Of course, we have seen our 2 maps that are regular are the Lunar map and the map on Venus, Shores of Time. Those are the 2 maps that you can play regularly. And then in the Iron Banner, they added Rested Lands and the map on Mars, which means there's still 1 map that we have yet to see. And I think I don't see them doing another event like the Iron Banner. I think they do the same thing, based on how you level up and you get stuff and get better loot from the Iron Banner. I don't think they'd make another game type like that. So I think they're going to have an expansion of the maps available in Control, and just whenever we want to play any game type, that all those maps will be available, because it gets pretty repetitive once again, playing over. They haven't really changed much since the alpha. Not to mention, they showed us all these different game types in between the alpha and the beta. Now, why would they show us these if they weren't even playable in the beta? I don't think there's any way that myself, putting my head in their shoes as a developer, I don't think they would show us these game types and not let us play them. I saw these game types a month before the beta even started, so they wouldn't not have them available. I think it's because they're not going to let us play all that stuff before Xbox even has access to the beta. That's what I think the whole big wait up is this for, and the 2 days of maintenance that they plan for. I think they plan that really well so that they can add all this stuff and make it available for everyone. That's one major reason. Not to mention, they only added in the campaign, they only added these 2 missions. That's only 2 from the alpha to the beta. And these 2 missions were pretty darn short. Like, just these 2, probably 30 minutes. That's 30 minutes of extra content. There were really no newer apparent missions added to the Explore or public events that you can happen when you're with a big group of people. They seem pretty similar. Plus, they're showing us this, which, you know, you get your hope ups, then they get them down. Then I think they're going to bring it back up again after maintenance, because once again, Xbox doesn't even have access to this yet. They don't even have access to any of the content that we're playing. They didn't have access to the alpha. So we've done all of this before they've even played the game, which is, I think, the reason why the game types aren't available, why the other map and the other 2 maps that we've already played aren't available, why the campaign events aren't available, why the level cap hasn't been raised. And I think, you know, I don't think they would need 2 days of maintenance for an entire beta just to fix tiny little bugs. It's not that kink. They have already worked on this game for several years. That's not necessary. So in my head, the only reason why they would have those 2 extra days is to add more campaign, higher level cap, different weapons, different loot, more maps in the Crucible, and different game types. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching. That's my opinion on the game. Some positive and negatives about the campaign, the multiplayer of the game, the tower of the game, the whole loot system, everything about that. I hope you guys have a better grasp than you did before watching this on what I think and what you think, and leave your opinions and comments down below. I want to see what you think. If you have any other ideas, anything else that I might have missed, I'd love to know. Thanks again, guys, and see you all later.